the University of Queensland, and welcome to the joint launch of the Queensland University of Technology and University of Queensland's ACYA chapters. UQ will be setting up ACYA this semester, and QUT hopefully next semester. For the English-speaking amongst us, you're going to have to excuse me for a second while I attempt to introduce myself in Chinese to our Chinese friends. 朋友们好，欢迎各位来澳大利亚，欢迎来昆士兰大学，再欢迎大家来参加昆士兰大学和昆士兰科技大学澳洲青年联合会的开幕式。我很高兴，我的中文不太好，虽然我从小学中文，但是我说的一点也不流利。我希望你们都听懂我说的话。我的英文名字是 Jeff。 中文名字是小山。我上中学的时候有另一个中文名字叫王小明，但是大学老师们觉得王小明太普通了。我听说过大山是个很有名又会说中文的西方人，所以我改了名字叫自己小山。去年我在北京的时候，告诉出租汽车的司机我是那个很有名的加拿大人。 大山的儿子，司机们都不相信我。今天我们有一位很特别的来宾，叫 Michael Johnson。Johnson 先生是澳大利亚第一位有中国血统的国会议员。今天我们很幸运邀请到 Johnson 先生来跟我们说话。再次感谢大家光临开幕式，也希望开幕式以后能跟大家交流。谢谢大家。 Now, the Australian China Youth Association is all about bringing young Chinese and young Australians together. It operates at a national level around three pillars, being education, people-to-people exchange, and careers. As you might be alluded to by the website, it is established nationally, its epicentre being at the Australian National University. It has since spread to Melbourne University, the University of Sydney, Monash University, and of course, the University of Queensland and Queensland University of Technology, as well as China's prestigious Peking University, or Beijing Dashi. I mentioned those three pillars that ACYA operates around at a national level, but I'd just like to go through a few key points that I think ACYA can specifically help for our Chinese students and also for our Australian students. For our Chinese students, I see the first benefit as in friendships through ACYA's social occasions. Often it is, and I have met a lot of Chinese students who find it difficult to make Australian friends because a lot of their classes are catered exclusively for Chinese foreign exchange students, and UQ is almost a victim of its own success with so many Chinese exchange students that it is difficult to make friends outside of that group of countrymen. Secondly, and it's quite off topic but I think quite topical, and Mr Johnson might know a bit more about this than myself, but in terms of international student rights, we had the Bruce Baird report released on Monday, basically outlining how some international colleges are exploiting and rorting the international export sector. And I think while most of his comments were regarded to colleges, I think at UQ we can't be too ignorant of any of those issues that arise. And I think specifically in areas of off-campus accommodation and also perhaps employment rights, that there is an avenue there for ACYA to help our Chinese exchange students. And I would encourage them, if they do have any issues, to come forward and we can point them in the right direction. Thirdly, I think the main benefit for Chinese students is in their English. We do have weekly conversation classes at ACYA. Anyone who's ever tried to help a Chinese student with a translation will realise how incredibly lucky we are to have English as a first language. Often we can explain why we have to use a certain word, but not how and where, and it is incredibly difficult. Now for Australian students, I see two overarching benefits. Firstly, in the areas of employability, whether it be through learning cultural skills or networking and making friends with some Chinese students. Of course, we all know China's economic development is rapidly increasing. Every Chinese student who learns Chinese will know the phrase that 中国经济发展越来越快, and that China's economic development is becoming more and more and getting faster and faster. And I did come across one fact that from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, that even in the last 5 years, Australia's exports to China have more than doubled to be worth $4,700 billion US dollars. Yet Australia is only ranked 6th of China's principal import countries, servicing just 3.2% of China's import market. So basically this means that an export market to Australia that's worth 4,700 billion US dollars is only catering for 3.2% of that Chinese market. I think this, along with China's population, which is somewhere between 1.3 and 1.6 billion, really brings home what a Goliath, what a behemoth and a Goliath of a country China truly is. The second area I see ACYA benefiting our Australian students is also, again, in language skills. It was interesting to hear Julie Bishop, the then Deputy Leader of the Opposition, and I think she still is. Can't keep up too much. But,
no, she's been there all the time.
Sure. But basically she was saying to our ANU chapter that her generation could get away with a monolingual culture, or barely got away with being a monolingual culture, and that Australians need to move forward and emphasise Asian literacy, particularly in the areas of Japanese, Indonesian, Chinese and Korean, if we are to move forward in an increasingly small world. It is interesting whenever you go to Europe or to an Asian country, that in Europe they all speak French, German, Dutch, Danish and English, or a combination of at least two. And of course, our Asian students learn their home language and of course English. But that's enough about me. We're here of course to hear Mr Michael Johnson speak. When I did have coffee with a mate 6 months ago who attends ANU and helps to run ACYA at ANU, and I said of course I'd love to establish it at UQ. My immediate thought was, who can we get along to help launch ACYA at UQ? And there was of course one person who came to mind who represents what ACYA is all about and symbolises what ACYA is all about. Mr Johnson is importantly the member for Ryan, but perhaps more importantly, is the first parliamentarian in Australia with Chinese heritage. In addition to this, he's the chairman of the Australia-China Business Forum, sits on both the Australian and global advisory boards of the Asia Society, and importantly too, he's a graduate of UQ, the School of Arts and School of Law, also attending Cambridge and Kennedy School Executive Leaders Program. He has a passion for international relations, particularly Australia's economic and strategic ties with Asia, and today he'll be speaking about China's impact on Australian global affairs. And following Mr Johnson's address, there will be a chance to ask him any questions about his speech or about anything Australia-China related. So if you do have any questions, please hold on to them. And would you please welcome the member for Mr Michael Johnson.